Okay, hi, how you doing? My name's Neil. Welcome to this online open day event. I'm just going to give you a wee bit of a presentation. Hopefully you can all see these slides about the course that I lecture on, which is Rural Business Management. Basically, it is a fantastic course. I would say that because I teach in it. But it is a course that will, at the end of it, you should be able to really go into the world of business in a rural context and be able to really, in many ways, understand how to manage them. And many of our students go on to, well, many of our students, all of our students have courses actually, have jobs, sorry, by the end of their courses, by the end of their studies. And most of them are in all sorts of things. Some just go back into farming and farm management. Others go on to land management elements. Others have worked for supermarkets, retail elements, and so on. Okay, so our course differentiates a bit from your straight agriculture because we're focusing very much on how the businesses in the rural context work, function. So that's the finances, management, everything to do with that, economics, the works. So, he says so, and so I can change my slide over. Right, so the two courses that we basically are offering is an HND in Rural Business Management and a degree in Rural Business Management. These are two levels that you have. So there is actually the ability to sign on with us and see how far you go, really, with it as well. So you can decide after 2 years, that's good enough for me, I'll have an HND, or you can go the full 4 years to a degree. I am one of a team of 4 lecturers here at Aberdeen that teach onto the RBM, so the Rural Business Management course. We have all worked in industry in a variety of ways. So Andrew's background, for example, there in the bottom right, that's Andrew. He's worked in the meat processing industry. He's worked in estates and so on. Myself, my background is academic on PhD and things, but I've also been a consultant for agriculture, dairy agriculture consultant, and I have also worked on various farms around the world in my time. And then you have Rachel, who's worked in marketing with the SAC Consulting, and Natalie has also worked in economics side of things as well. So what you also find with this course is it's not just us. There are multiple campuses where RBM is taught. So you have Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and the Ayr and Barony down the bottom. They actually quite often actually come together as one group and either have their classes at Ayr or Barony. So you could say fundamentally we're in 3, Southwest, Central, and Northeast. And we're up here in Aberdeen in the Ferguson building. It is a really interesting time for rural businesses. It is a challenge. There are lots of things to actually get your head around, challenge-wise. So there's the economy. There is the fact that everything politically is, well, changing all the time. But there are also some big challenges, long-term challenges to do with environment and making sure that we can continue to feed people in a sustainable way. And that's just some of the questions that we have here. How do we keep our rural communities in employment? And rural business management very much looks at these kind of things, these policies, how they interact. Policy might not be the most interesting subject to a lot of people, but it is a key subject that we all need to know about, especially if we want to work in the rural industries. There's also climate change, as I said. There's labour. Brexit is still a factor in there. How do you deal with logistics? We are in global supply chains most commonly. Our food is being exported a lot. Our food is and food is being imported. So there's all sorts of companies working with these elements in the rural context, and we cover that in our course as well. Some of the topics more specifically that we go through, we look at management, obviously, pretty important considering it's called the Rural Business Management course. Economics, you have to understand economics very much to do with policy and understanding how your business and other businesses and decisions and economic factors such as inflation, exchange rates, all sorts of things come into play. And how that all will affect you as a business by understanding how economics, the economic theories behind markets and trade, then you actually start to understand how certain decisions by the government can affect the businesses you work for. Same with finance. Finance is there as a key component because without finance, obviously you need to be able to understand finance to balance the books in your business or in the industry that you're in. You also need to be able to use finance to budget going forward. So we have quite a large element of finance running through ours course. Marketing as well. How do you actually get people to know about things? It's all very well having a fantastic idea, being able to create ideas through our innovation and entrepreneurship course elements of the course. But marketing, how do you market it? How do you find out who's out there and how do you get them to know about what you've got? HR is important because the labor of your business, the personnel in your business, highly important, highly critical for HR. For any business is your workforce, and so HR knowing how to manage and keep within the laws that our government has set us as businesses is important. Digital communications is a massive thing as well, understanding how to be digitally literate, so to speak, which I'm sure many of you are, but at the same time, understanding how to do that within the context of the business is an important thing. And alongside that, customer care as well is a massively important subject that we cover here. How do you keep the customer happy? How do you make sure the customer comes back to your business for more services or more goods? And environmental issues, all tied into it. You have to make sure that long-term businesses are being as sustainable as possible and are keeping within the rules and regulations. And land use. Land use is changing all the time right now in the Northeast. We've got a huge change going on in many ways between oil and gas and into the renewables industries. And land use is coming into play there a lot as we try to get the infrastructure in place. For example, SSEN are trying to put in major new pylon systems down the East Coast. How is that changing? How is that affecting communities? And how is that going about? And how do you, if you're SSEN, how do you mitigate for these things? How do you deal with these things? And if you're a business that's going to be affected by these changes because it's going across your land or through your area of operation, how do you deal with it? And how do you respond to it? All these elements are looked at very much by our course, and in with that, we have electives that are around food specifically, entrepreneurship, though we haven't got that listed for some reason, leisure, and also the RICS pathways. So we have the RICS is to do with land surveying. So it's a pathway that you can take on our course that takes you down a particular training route, which once you finish the course, you're able to then get the qualification relatively quickly. So our course is properly accredited to that. And it's actually a very popular pathway that a lot of people take when they take our course. It's also a sector in the industry where they're desperate for new people to come in. So it's a skill and a qualification that we're finding that is a real big win for our students and is one of the major things that's actually getting them into employment before they've even finished with us. So just to go back to the course content a wee bit, I'll probably overlap a few of those things I've said in those slides, but in the course format, we've got a 4-year degree. The first year is the first year of an HND, second year is the second year of the HND, and obviously, like I say, you can cash in at that point for an HND. Third year, you're getting into a degree and you're starting to specialise in that third year of degree. You can decide to leave it there if you want, or you can go on to the fourth year of the degree and get the honours, which is a dissertation or a particular, now that we've revalidated, it can be a particular workplace, related project that is not like your traditional degree scheme, degrees honour. So not a, this is an experiment, this is our write-up, or this is a study and this is our write-up. In that format, we've actually revalidated our course so that it's much more like what you would experience in industry in the terms of the write-up and the study that you do. There's huge amounts of transferable attributes, and we hear this a lot from our industry partners and things. We really are wanting you to understand how to communicate professionally and correctly in the business world and have entrepreneurial thinking. So spot those opportunities, understand where you could what those opportunities could be, and which ones are good ones, which ones are bad ones, which ones are, well, not so much bad, but not possible at that point maybe. But get you thinking how you solve issues and be innovative in the business world. Critical thinking as well. I'd be able to evaluate things. Obviously, IT literate, finance and numeracy, as I've mentioned already, digital literacies as well. But the other key thing that we find with our industry people that quite often are employing our graduates is they're really impressed with how well our students are at presenting and public speaking and how professional generally they are, which is what makes our RBM students well-rounded and attractive graduates to the industries. This year, every graduate had a job before finishing, like I said, and we had employers contacting us to ask for more as well. Okay, so that's how well our graduates, how highly our graduates are considered. There's 94% graduate employability across the whole board, really, with our courses, but for ours at Aberdeen, it was everyone was employed. The types of businesses they're employed in: A&M, just down the road at Thainston, Grampian Growers, just down the road at Montrose, but you've also got big international companies, Tesco's, national companies, international companies. You've got the Scottish Government as well, because we've got such a policy and economics element to our courses and we're focused on rural. The Scottish Government considers the rural landscape, the rural environment, a very important area for them, and having people come out who understand the policies, understand what kind of economic impacts those policy changes can have. They really want those kind of people coming and working for them as advisors or in different roles like that. You've also obviously got other agencies linked with the Scottish Government, such as SEPA and so on. And you also have consulting arms of the SRUC have employed people as well as other consultancies. So just as I've mentioned already, there is a pathway called the RICS pathway, and it is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, and it's all about training people up in ability to survey out in the rural sector for us on land surveying. And the idea is that you take particular options on the electives as you go through the 4 years of a course. And if you do that and you come out with having passed them all, then you are on the road to getting your RICS qualification. And therefore, instead of actually being somebody who turns up to interview and says, I've got this degree, I know all this stuff, but I haven't got the RICS pathway, I haven't done the RICS pathway, and the business then looking at, well, we have to put them down that pathway, which is going to take X number of months, possibly years to achieve. They can, if you've done the pathway, they can actually go, right, you've done all the training, you just need to do a slightly more further training specific to our business and the particular test, and you can achieve that RICS qualification. So it becomes very attractive to businesses. In our course, though, on the more interesting and exciting bits for our students, we're not just sitting in the lecture theatre. Yes, we do have to teach you stuff in the lecture theatre. Yes, we do have slides like I'm doing here today, but we also interlink this with field visits. We want to get you out there and seeing the businesses that are some of the examples that we use. Quite a lot of our assessments. So, for example, my rural business consultancy module that I'm teaching right now this semester, we will be going to Marshall's Farm Shop to actually see their business, go through everything to do with their business, and work out do a sustainability study. That's not me, sorry. The students will be doing that individually, but we'll be visiting there so that they can do that on Marshall's Farm Shop. And Marshall's Farm Shop have said in response, they want to see those reports because they're really interested in what our students are actually doing. Yesterday, I took all our students, again, another year of our students, down to Ringlink, and there they learned all about cooperatives, and they met actually the gentleman who was the very first founder of the cooperative, and as a result, he sat there and he gave them 2 hours of his time to be able to explain exactly how they went about setting up that cooperative, which was ideal for our students because they actually have an assignment of actually coming up with a cooperative idea for us. And that's exactly what they needed, was somebody to tell them exactly what the steps are in actually building a cooperative, and what they came across in the real world that worked well, didn't work well, and what was the strengths and positives from it. We also do study tours at the end of third year. There's a study tour, and third and fourth years can go on the study tour. So technically, you have 2 years of options of going to study tours. At the moment, we're going to Ireland this year. So we'll be Northern Ireland and the actual Ireland around Dublin area. That's the study tour this year. Next year, probably Holland, I think, is the plan. So going over to Amsterdam area and seeing various businesses around there. The advantage of the study tours is it gives our students the ability to see lots of different businesses out with the areas that we would normally get to on a normal day visit. And it also just gives them more variety. It gives them also the experience to go away, travel, have a bit of fun as well. And also, as you can see there with Phil and Andrew on the last one last year. And it just gives all our students the ability to have a bit of fun and also just learn a bit more about those businesses. It happens around the end of May, so usually all the students, hopefully, if they've passed everything, our students are all going off on the study tour, and it's a kind of like, hey, end of the year, and we can, enjoy ourselves without worrying about whether this is to do with an assessment. There's also socializing and societies. So the key thing with us is we're really keen on students working together. So this week, this Friday actually, so that's tomorrow. Sorry, getting my days of the week right. So tomorrow there's actually the Agri Ball happening. So all the students will be going out and kind of formal ball situation where they all get together, have a nice dinner, and sure various other things going on in the entertainment, but there's also speeches and things like that as well. There's those kind of social events that happen, big ones like that, but there's also small ones where they just as societies go out as groups in Aberdeen or in the areas around Aberdeen just to socialize and just relax and get to know each other. Teaching wise, even though we do all these field trips and things like that, the key thing with us actually is that we actually don't just lecture you the whole time. So this picture here is actually of Mo, and now Mo is my trophy, so to speak, for students to win from different competitions. So I run all sorts of quizzes, so simple ones from just University Challenge, which is just basically a quiz where I've got them in 2 different teams. They each have a bell to ring, and they're trying to compete against each other for Mo or for a chocolate bar. That's up to them. And it's basically a quiz on what they've been learning in the lecture theatre. So it can be as simple as that, or it can be challenges. So other ones can be challenges where they've got to all sorts of things, where they've got to build get across the floor. The floor is lava. I've even played in the lecture theatre for some of the students, simply because that's actually a really good way of getting them to work as a team and understand the idea of teamwork and why that benefits them. There's also role play, so we actually mock up the whole of the House of Commons in one actual lecture theatre, where we actually bring them all together and we're demonstrating how policy is informed and brought together. And actually it demonstrates to them, quite often the students actually learn from that actually there is a way that the House of Commons works. It is frustrating that that's the way it works, but it does actually work that way for a very good reason. There's also lots of group things. So we get students doing group activities. We also get them to do group assignments as well. So designing whole businesses together, coming up with ideas and doing businesses that way. So take, for example, in my third year module, the management and innovation and entrepreneurship module, the groups there actually have to design and develop their own business idea. And at the end of it, they actually have to give it as a proper pitch, like a Dragon's Den, to actual people from industry outside who come in. and the best pitch is offered something in reward for that. So the idea is that we have a kind of more relaxed approach to it. We're trying to be informal to a certain extent, because we find that too formal and actually the students don't learn anywhere near as much. And that's it, really. If there's any questions, general inquiries will go to study at sruc.ac.uk. And if you've got any specific questions about the course and you're wondering who to contact about it, who teaches on it, I'm more than happy for you to send me any emails with questions. And I'm also happy to answer any questions just now, if you want to just type them into the Q&A.
Thank you, Neil. We've had a couple of questions have come through already. The first question is, how many days a week would I be on campus?
Okay, so that does vary per term and it does vary per year. But generally, our rule of thumb is we aim to have students on campus 3 days a week, and we try our best to timetable it in such a way that those 3 days are clear 3 days. So we're not trying to have you on campus for 5 days and half days, if that makes sense. So we try to condense it down so you come in for a full day, and that means that if we do that and we manage to do that on the timetabling, I can't promise we'll always manage it, but if we do manage to do that, that means you'd be on campus 3 days a week.
That's great, thanks, Neil. The next question is, what sort of job opportunities could the HND lead to?
Right. Well, on the HND side of things, there's all sorts of things have happened with the HND. We've actually had one student just recently go off and they're working for a food manufacturer in their development labs. And well, actually, she's moved slightly off that onto the social media side of things. So our HNDs are considered quite highly by the industries. Quite a few of our HNDs do tend to be people who come, they do this course for a couple of years, but they have often got a job that they're already maybe working in at the weekend and stuff, and they'll move back to that. And so some of them work in the auction marts. So I believe one or two of our students who have completed HND recently are now in A&M. And really at the end of the day, I would say that your job opportunities are similar with HND, but your degree can give you that RICS pathway and maybe a higher level job, maybe in certain positions, in certain roles.
Thanks, Neil. I've got a message here from Jenny. She says, what are the entry requirements for the HND from a NAT 5-4 perspective? What age do you need to be to start the course?
I'll have to defer to somebody else on that one, on exactly but age to begin the course, what we're looking for is hires, I believe, as qualifications for the course. Is that correct, Caroline?
Yes,
Yeah. So we're looking for hires at that level to get onto the course, but I can't tell you exactly what those are actually. Sorry, I should have done my homework more beforehand. But you'd probably be best to email study@sruc.ac.uk. Sorry, I've failed on that one.
Another sort of similar question along that is, what higher subjects would be good for me to do at school?
We're definitely looking for people who have done maths in there, would be a subject we'd be looking for. English is usually quite a good one to get in there. But certainly a science or something maybe would work as well, or a business management hire would be also relevant.
Great. What has been your favourite field trip?
My favorite field trip, when I was oh, hang on, you'd be asking around what we're doing actually, not when I was a student. Okay, sorry. Favorite field trip would be, actually, I really enjoyed the Ring Link one when we recently went on that. Another one actually that I've really found very interesting is up to Bankery. There's a community heating system there. It's very interesting. They're linked with the Lazy State. It's called Habesco. and it's just very interesting. It's very different. What they're basically doing is they're utilising the wood and taking the timber, they're chipping it, putting it into boilers, and those boilers are then heating water that then goes to the local community in Banchory, and it provides heating to those houses or immediately around it, or to, I believe it's also the community, one of the community centres there as well.
Great, thank you, Neil. I've just had a quick check just now on the entry requirements, and for the HND it's 2 hires at a C, and also applicants are expected to have a national 5, that's an A to C, or an equivalent pass in English and maths.
What was it for the degree? Caroline, have you got that?
I haven't got there yet, sorry.
No, sorry.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back
Okay.
to you on that one. Let me just check if there's any more questions come in. Somebody's asking about the size of the classes.
They vary. We have classes that are, it depends on whether they're electives or core modules, and they vary in size. We have some classes that are only 5 or 6, and we have some classes that are up at about 40, but I've never taught any more than 40 in size. So I would say that none of the classes are bigger than 40.
That's great. And in that time, I've managed to find the entry requirements for the degree. So you're looking at 4 hires at BBCC. No specific subjects are required. And again, a good national 5 pass in English and maths.
So there's me saying maths and English and things like that. But yes, that's you better to go with what Caroline's saying there. I mean, obviously, with finance and things, you want to be quite confident with numbers to a certain degree, but at the same time, we do find that there's students who are excellent at maths and numeracy. We've got other students who are not quite as confident with their numeracy, but sometimes they can be actually really good at accounts and stuff because they're very methodical, because they know they're not quite so good at it. And that can actually make them actually very good at it, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense. I think that brings our questions to a close for this afternoon. Is there anything you would like to add, Neil, before we close the event today?
No, I think I've kind of covered everything. Just really that it's a great course. It really is, and there's actually fantastic social and community vibe to the whole thing. And really, I've taught for many years before I even came to SRUC, and what we do here at SRUC is really forward thinking and really enjoyable classes for the students.
That's great. That's great note to finish on. So thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.